So rebuilding this borgwarner 1356, we determined that there was excessive movement in the shift sector here, which is it's amplified once you go from here all the way out to here. Actually, the shift forks, there's a little line, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there's a line right at the edge of my fingernail there. That's where the forks were riding. They're supposed to ride on this roller here, but there was so much deflection that they were only riding on that spot right there. There's a lot of wear between shifting and the tension on this, the tension on this spring. The shift cam always pushing in the same direction. It just wore the housing out. So we did some thinking, and we have these bushings for a Mahindra Roxor, and they are loose by about 10 thousandths. Probably can't see the movement on the camera. Anyway, what we did is there's a seam here. We just spread it open, and then took a mill bit, a burr, which is, it's still in the drill. And we just kind of kissed off a little bit and then pinched it back closed until we got a pretty good fit, so there wasn't much wiggle. And then in this case, we used a 3/4 inch drill bit to drill the housing and push the bushing in. It wasn't the tightest fit, but it was a pretty decent fit. I did have to use a driver handle and just some light taps with a hammer. Ideally, if we had 64th inch splits on our drill bits, that would have been the best. And then what we got was a little bit of movement, but much better than, it's only maybe 1/4 of the movement from what it was.
Not to mention now we have a wearable brass sleeve.
Yep.
Instead of just writing on the case.
Yep. So these you can replace. Like I said, ideally, you'll want 64th inch splits in your drill bits to get the right fit. You'll want to only kiss off a little bit between this seam at a time. I did it 3 or 4 times. Just spread it, more than this, but just kind of worked it open and clamped it sideways in a vise like this so I could carefully take some material off and then crimp it back. It's going to take, a little bit of trial and error. You machine some on there, you put a smaller bit in, you see what fits, or you can measure. I guess you could measure this in your drill bit compared to the fit. But remember, these are going to shrink a little bit when they press in. So you want to account for that. But of course, if it does shrink in, or shrink when you put it in, and you do have 64th inch splits on your drill bit, you could kiss off the ID just a little bit and probably have a good fit.
Or emery cloth the sector shaft.
Yep, or emery cloth just a little bit. Of course, not where the seal rides, but a little further in. And then these bushings go just about all the way in. There's only just a little bit of space in the bore on each side that the bushing doesn't cover, but it's minuscule. It's less, on both sides, it's less than 1/8 of an inch. But these bushings, have dimples for oil retention. They have a groove for oil retention. So these will lubricate themselves, and they may wear out over time. But of course, you can knock these out and replace them. You only have to drill a hole once. The modification does take a little bit of skill, but it was pretty straightforward. We had it done. It took us longer to drill the hole than it did to get the size pretty close, and we sized it in particular for this 3/4 drill bit because that's all we had.
This is ironically when you want a duller drill bit.
Yes. I started off with an 1/8 inch smaller drill bit, and it was eating pretty hard. That drill hadn't been used a lot. This one I started with, and we actually had to sharpen it a little bit, and it's not real sharp, but it was good.
You almost wanted the aluminum to come out in small flakes or a powder. You don't want it coming out in shards.
Right, yeah. With that other one drawing in, it could, there's a lot of material here, but it could have bored itself in. and fractured the case. Of course, if we had a drill press, that wouldn't have been such an issue.
Yep.
But fixturing something like this in a drill press, I don't have the fixtures for that.
So this is about the closest to a backyard fix as you can get.
Yeah, as long as you get the hole pretty straight and you size the drill bit and this correctly by how much material you take out of the seam here, this seems like it's going to be a good fix.
And they're not making these cases anymore, and this is going to be a more and more common problem. Mm-hmm. This is the first we've come across it.
Yeah, we did check another case half out back, and it had the same issues, if not a little bit worse. And so we thought, okay, well, we'll see what we can do. Ideally, if you had resources close to you, like a machine shop, to bore this hole and explain to them, drop all three of these parts off, the sector, the bushing, and the housing, and just say, this should fit
snug.
It shouldn't have any wobble. If you drop it off and tell them that, a machine shop should be able to make a nice hole. Just explain to them the spread and take out material. They should be able to do that and get it probably a lot closer than what we were able to do, which is a heck of a lot. There's maybe a quarter of the play in this than there was.
Yeah, we actually were pulling outside debris from within the bore from the backside of the seal. That's how loose it was.
It moved so much that there was a gap between the seal and the shaft here.
And if you're restoring a pickup, or if you're building a wheeler, or you just have a daily that you drive down a lot of muddy dirt roads, that will get in the case and that will cause problems. And this is about the closest thing that we found to a permanent fix.
It's too bad we didn't film this. I could probably take some pictures after the fact here, or even on that other housing. But really, all it is purchasing this piece and then having a 64th inch split on your drill bits.
What's that bushing run?
It's under $20. I don't remember.
So this is a very cheap fix.
It's pretty cheap. Yeah, this might even shipping will probably cost more than this. This bushing.
So there you go. Like, instead of searching high and low for a low mileage case, you can do this in your garage on a workbench.
You could. Yeah.
And if you're worried, and like we were discussing, for a cheap backup for the factory seal, which you can still get, you could pack some axle grease in there, or you were saying like an anaerobic sealant.
Well, the anaerobic sealant would just retain your bushing.
Oh yeah, that's right. But to kind of take up maybe some of the slack and to kind of give a backup against that seal, you could put like a heavy grease in there, like a high temp grease.
Yeah, heavy high temp grease would, help to kind of cushion it a little bit. I mean, there's still a lot of pressure on your little rooster comb here. But a little high temp grease would at least help seal it, even if there was some side to side movement here. Mm-hmm. It'd help keep stuff from getting out of there.
It'd at least slow the water intrusion.
It would, yeah.
Well, there you go. We found a solution to a problem that a lot of people probably don't realize is a problem. The only reason why we noticed it was because we were deep into this case, and we were actually getting ready to put it all back together when we seen the shift cam flopping like a fish out of the water.
Flopping like a fish and having everything ride like that.
Yeah,
right
just
actually it was this edge, but yeah.
Barely getting her.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Here is a case that was pretty bad after we did the bushing fix on it.
The Mahindra mod.
The Mahindra mod. A little bit of wiggle, but that's more from just not having the right size drill bit. But it's a heck of a lot better than it was. It's just a little. I mean, it might look like a lot, but really, it's just a little.
Yeah, it's. I think that they probably would have had that much from the factory, to be honest.
Yeah.
We have another case back in the barn that we can show you, and it's almost as bad as what this one was.
Yeah.
Maybe it might be a touch worse.
I don't know if it's worse, but it's at least as bad.
So we'll end this, go out there, put some light on the subject, and we can show you how bad this really is, you know, of a problem and how bad it can be. And you'll see how much dirt and grime is around this area. All sorts of stuff can get in there. So we will see you in.
So here's a transfer case we have not done anything to. And this is a side-to-side movement in two-wheel drive. It's quite a bit. And of course there's spring tension on the shift parts in there, so I can't move it all the way with my hands. See if we can get four-wheel drive. Whoop, went right by four-wheel drive. Still some there. There's neutral. There's 4 low.
Mr. Cooper.
Still quite a bit. But the Mahindra mod will take care of all of that.
You can see how much dirt and grime. I'll bet you this is probably wet right here, because it could have been leaking past.
Oh, I'm sure it was. So all this oil is kind of, if you look over here on top of the case, well, the light's not real good.
It's dry.
It's dry, just, road dust, but everything here is oil soaked, and probably because this guy is letting a little bit of oil weep past the seal. And of course, it's not the vent. The vent is dry right around the vent.
And everything on the transmission, but on the transmission's dry.
Yep.
So, and it's not coming from this, because the front output sits lower than everything else. So this oil is coming from that seal. Mm-hmm. So if oil's getting past, water can get in.
Yep, and dirt and everything else.
So the Mahindra mod on the borgwarner 1356 is the best route we have found to fix this issue. And this is probably plaguing every daily driven truck.
Yeah, even if four-wheel drive wasn't used much, there's still the spring tension from the shift parts.
And the rattling against the case.
Yeah, the rattling and everything. And like I said, I can't get all the movement because of the spring tension. I don't have enough leverage with my fingers here. But, that's a lot.
And well, I'll show you the bell housing, what's left of it. This came out of a farm truck. This is a ZF 5-speed for a 351 Windsor. So this transfer case was obviously, rode pretty hard, but I mean, they're not all going to be ridden this hard, and I'll bet you almost every one of them will rattle at this point.
Probably will.
So if you are looking to keep your truck on the road, and your transfer case probably at this point does need a full gone through, the Mahindra mod will get that fixed. That's the only way we have found to fix the slop.
Mm-hmm. Seemed to do good. You saw the movement on the what we've modified.
Yep. And time will tell if we get any oil leak by, and after I get it in my truck and I drive it around a little bit. Mm-hmm. Well, my truck is going to be going to Brooks, Oregon, to the OBS show, so we'll see how wet she is when she gets there.
Nice, yeah. So this is a 4407. It uses a similar shift mechanism, the shift rod through bare aluminum, brand new old stock. And here's the movement. Very little. Picking that up on the camera?
It's very, very little.
Yep. 0 miles on this unit, new old stock. I actually can't shift it a whole lot by hand because everything's still tight. But in the various positions I can get it in, it's pretty tight. So with the right drill bit and that Mahindra mod bushing, should be able to get yours just as tight.
I mean, I don't think with our test repair we're that much looser than that.
It was a little, so there was probably twice as much movement as what this has.
That has more in-out play than anything else.
Yeah.
There's like zero this way, it's just in and out on the
Yeah.
shaft. So we're just seeing shaft play where that clip is against the cam.
Right. Yeah. There's not really a whole lot
Of
There's
tipping.
Just a little bit of tipping.
Yeah.
So ours is twice as much, maybe a little bit more, but it's still a quarter of what it was.
Yeah.
And better, a more diverse selection of drill bits would have been, desirable to get the right hole size for for modifying the bushing to put in.
Yep. So this was last minute, like, hey, we have one of these. Let's do a comparison. And yeah, I mean, I think our test repair is it's a drastic improvement. Drastic. So that being confirmed that, this mod, well, I would say confirmed because we haven't put oil in it and drove it yet.
Oh, but it's way better.
Yeah, it's going to be way better as far as, I'm curious to see how better it feels on the lever when I go to engage it.
Probably feel pretty close to a brand new truck.
Probably be a lot smoother, yeah. All right, well, so we have all the comparisons that we can come up with similar cases for Ford applications. We have like hundreds of cases in the barn, but this is the one closest to what we are working on and being brand new.
Yep, the only brand new case we have back here.
Yep, the things you guys find. All right, well, thanks for watching, and remember, subscribe to TorquekingTV and visit TorqueKing.com if you are looking for U.S. domestic vehicle parts for Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Jeep, and International.
And Mahindra, which is assembled here, but not made here.
Yep, and the Mahindra Rocksters. You are like the man for the Mahindra Rockster stuff.
The guy.
Which is how we found out, we got the bushing. We had it on a shelf.
Yeah,
So-
I was doing a Rockster PTO kit, and that bushing was
Just-
part of our test thing. Yep,
Sitting right there on the table.
sitting right there.
Oh, let's try this. Oh, sure shit. So that being said, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, you can email or call up Torque King or leave questions here on the video, and I will try to answer them the best I can. If not, I will forward them to the master right here. So,
I know nothing.
all right. Well, thanks for watching. Have a good night.